Money. Euros, dollars, pounds, yen, dirhams. The world revolves all around money. But how would this look like in a vanilla survival Minecraft SMP without the use of mods? Multiple content creators have tried to tackle this question, but in this video, I'm going to elaborate on a different perspective and that there is a lot more to it than you might suspect. Let's talk about the most common currency, diamonds. Now, diamonds are not a bad currency to begin with. The player has to strategize whether they should spend their diamonds for their diamond equipment or they should spend it on other items. Not only do players want to spend their money, they also want a full set of diamond gear and other equipment. Over time, this value decreases as they slowly fulfill their desires. It is important to note that a diamond chestplate is something you only craft once and enchant with mending. After that, you don't have to craft a diamond chestplate ever again. Additionally, the efficiency of obtaining diamonds stays relatively the same until someone enchants their pickaxe with Fortune 3. That, added with the fact that you can trade with villagers to obtain diamond armor, makes this currency less valuable for late game use, since inflation will increase. Yes, the market can adopt higher prices, but that only delays the constant inflation that happens as the late game progresses. A YouTube video made by Blocks Payable mentions the use of Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath by nature isn't a highly demanding item, since you don't usually need it in the early game. One thing I found interesting about this video is that there was an assumption made on a government who monopolizes the currency. Now, if we want to add an additional authority to our simulation, we would have to deal with dictatorship and a great imbalance of power. It's basically a game of whoever dominates the nth dimension first can gatekeep it with their lives and has complete control over the entire server economy. The rest of the server has to either accept it and rely on the king on the server for money, or they can fight back and protest, which ultimately results into a series of regicides where the only way to live life is to either accept inferiority or fight back only to risk dying themselves. Financially speaking, this still could be a good alternative, assuming leadership is in good hands and the imbalance of this currency doesn't get exploited. The reason I wouldn't vouch for this as a good currency is because you're relying on a system that is doomed to collapse and there is not a reliable way to bring stability. The next video is by Pinecone LP and it's about wheat. It seems like an efficient currency, since the only thing you can craft with wheat is bread or hay bales, meaning people are not gonna use it for something else. Plus, it's super easy to get, a bit too easy I will say. You see, when you introduce a very accessible item as a currency, what usually tends to happen is inflation. The video talks about the government controlling the value of wheat, which in vanilla survival server is highly unrealistic. And even if it were possible, it would create problems as discussed with the Dragon's Breath. Ultimately, I'm going to reject this currency because of its lack of value and because of its reliance on authority. Me Not Bad proposed Dragon Axe as currency, with the condition that it's infinitely farmable every time you kill the Ender Dragon. Not only does this go against the vanilla survival server experience, since you need a mod to make this work, it also opens the idea of a government overtaking the nth dimension, creating imbalance in the economy, just like with the Dragon's Breath, and you get the rest of the story. The concept of taxes is also mentioned in this video, which adds another layer of imbalance.
Benjamin Franklin once said that in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. It feels a bit silly to be saying this right now.
Not only is society tied down to whoever dominates the nth dimension, players are also forced to pay extra money just to survive. It is no secret that I've kept discarding currencies that include a higher authority or additional taxes. The reason behind this is because I recently turned 18 years old and I legally hate the government. Poisonous potatoes was suggested by Gato Feo, and according to them, they claimed that this item won't flood the market as it prevents inflation. Though it is true that comparing it to wheat makes the poisonous potato seem substantially better, it won't fully prevent inflation. It will only delay it. A similarity that can be drawn with wheat and poisonous potatoes is that they are both farmable items. It's just that it's less efficient with these ugly looking vegetables. To me, this looks more like a desperate alternative than a genuine solution to the economy. The last type of currency we're looking into is the Nether stars, proposed by Kiseiji. Nether stars are already hardly accessible for the early game, and even though it's harder to farm Nether stars, there is yet another problem. In the video, KCG mentioned that Nether stars should be exchanged with a signed book and quill, and that the book and quill would act as the real money. The problem with this is that it's really easy to counterfeit this item and make sugarcane farms, cow farms, chicken farms, and squid farms to gain the materials to recreate a book and quill. This inevitably destroys the economy from day one, and it does not encourage fair trade.
This security then should be issued with signed books. Signed books can only be copied twice. Third copies are disallowed by the game's mechanics. This means there's little fear of counterfeiting.
Now, I would like to point out a video by TurtleState, who didn't suggest any currency in particular, but rather presented the idea that every currency system has their own pros and cons, depending on what the server wants to establish. This is a good point in understanding what the economy really is about. Out of all the previous videos I've mentioned so far, everyone has attempted to put their finger on a single item that defines the economy for the rest of eternity. What TurtleState suggests is that it doesn't always have to be about money, as it only represents one aspect out of many that make a server unique. So with his idea in mind, here's my take on the Minecraft economy. As we prefaced beforehand, we are trying to make a stable survival server where every player tries to progress normally throughout the game without mods or plugins in the server. Every individual is equal, so the idea of dictatorship is thrown out of the window. With that in mind, there does not seem to be a singular item that fixes the economy, but rather players should negotiate and trade with whatever they desire. This gives more freedom and fairness since nobody is obliged to pay taxes. This also means that trade is discouraged in a sense, and you might figure out that this would be a problem. In actuality, a player in practice is capable of gathering every resource by themselves and they don't need to trade to begin with. I don't see financial economics as an essential part of a Minecraft server, but more of a helpful system that encourages players to get their needs fulfilled more quickly. This subsequently shines a light on a problem that doesn't exist. People have been trying to fix Minecraft economy, but it really doesn't need to be fixed to begin with. Simply put, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Players shouldn't be forced to use money, but they're allowed to if they want. At the end of the day, Minecraft is an infinite game and the player has all the freedom to do whatever they want. To conclude, you don't need money to be happy. Happiness is found where you define it.